Hi, welcome to Wake Up the Truth About Alexa. I'm Lauren Johnson, founder of Alexa is a Human. On this podcast, you will hear true personal stories from people worldwide sharing the impact that Alexa as a wake word has had on them. You will hear expert opinions in fields such as technology, education, psychology, and more. We will dive into corporate ethics and responsibility, name bombardment, and how Amazon's choice to use a human name as a wake word is causing young children, teens, and women to experience severe bullying, sexual harassment, suicidal ideation, name changes, anxiety, therapy, identity erasure, and more. Thanks for joining. So, hi, welcome to episode 6. And today on this episode, we will have Alexa, who is an adult with the name Alexa, and we haven't had anyone on yet. So thank you, Alexa, for being on.
No problem.
And so tell everyone who's listening a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a mom of 2 daughters. I am a working mom. I grew up as a military brat, so I moved around a lot. Just a little bit of history as far as the name goes. My mom actually overheard someone named Alexa in a store. I think even before she got pregnant, and this would have been a long time ago. So this would have been back in the 70s, because I was born in 1975. So I've had the name for a long, long time. So she overheard the name, and she just thought it was the most beautiful name. And so that's kind of how it began.
I agree.
And
Go ahead.
and honestly, it was not heard very much growing up. I didn't really know very many other Alexas, but every time someone would hear it, they would say, "Oh, what a beautiful name!" Like they hadn't heard it before, and it was hard to pronounce. Like for some of the got called like Alexia, Alexa, some weird stuff. But I've always just loved it because I love being unique and just very, very proud of it. That's why I feel like I'm so passionate about this, because it's like it's your name for so long. So, I mean, we're talking about 40 something years. And so then all of a sudden, just to have all this, this device, as I call it, I don't even like to refer to her as Alexa because she's, Echo device. That's kind of where it all began when I overheard it, and I thought, what is this? And I saw a commercial and I didn't even know what it was because it was new at the time, I guess. And I was like, what is that? And I thought, well, that would just go away. And then it just blew up from there. So I might have given you more information than you just asked for, but that's kind of like my history, like where it comes from.
When did you realize, like, okay, this is annoying, or this is different, or this is offensive, or whatever your feeling was? When did it kind of strike you? Was it something that personally happened to you? Was it a series of things, or was it reading about other people? Like, what kind of sparked your interest?
When it started gaining popularity, and I think there was a year, and I'm trying to remember which Super Bowl it was, but it was like an overload of the commercials in that particular. It wasn't last year. It must have been like,
is it 2018, maybe
so.
2019?
And it was just like overload, and I was like, yeah, this is really annoying. And it was just like a progressive thing, because for a while no one really had it that I knew, and I would kind of hear it and dismiss it, but then it just started gaining momentum, and then the next thing you know, it's like, ugh. And it started off just with the TV annoying me, but then when people I knew started getting these things, or when you would just hear comments and people trying to make jokes that really aren't funny. It's like, that's when it started to really annoy me at that point. And I was going back to work. This was about 2 years ago. I decided to go back to work. And honestly, before I went back, I thought, should I go in with a different name? Should I go by my middle? Like, I just didn't want to deal with it. So I was like, contemplating, should I change my name? Should I go by something else? Should I go by my middle name, which is my mom's name, which had been really weird for me? And then I was like, no, I don't want to do that, because I just, like, that's just not my name. Like, that's not the name that I've known and I've grown up with. And then I decided to go ahead and just change my name, like, online. So I decided, well, I'm going to go by Lex now, which is something I never went by. I never went by any nicknames. Um, and it just didn't fit. Like, and then at some point I just said, I'm not doing this. I'm taking it back. Like, it's not theirs, it's mine. And whatever the consequences are, like, I'm taking it back. Like, they don't have the right to take it from me. So I decided to change it back. And that's
I
kind
love
of
it.
like how it is. And yeah, it's just been a progressive
But
thing.
right, because like you said, it's part of your identity and you try and get around it and you think, okay, well, there's lots of people who have changed their names, but it doesn't end up solving the problem because to your point, you're still going to hear it. It's still going to register in your brain because it has, for your entire life. And it's got to be really difficult. I mean, I've obviously thought about this because of the situation I'm in. Like, could I change my name to my middle name? Like, would I answer to it? Would it feel right? So I think it's important for people to think about that when it's someone else and you say, "Oh, your name's Alexa. Okay, just change it." But I think it's important. Like, I love that you said that for people to kind of internalize and think about that. Okay, what's your name? What's your middle name? Tomorrow, I'm going to start calling you that. How do you feel? Can you identify with it? It's yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's not necessarily a nickname because to your point, the nicknames don't really help either because they still trigger devices. We were at a friend's house recently and they don't actually use Alexa as a wake word. They use Echo in their house, which I've learned through this is apparently also a name. And it's I guess, a name common in Greece. And so but they use that. And it was very strange because and they're aware of the situation. And so I said something about my daughter and then I called her. We were all together as a family. I said Lex and the machine picked up. So, I mean, they don't use that wake word. And I didn't say Alexa, I said Lex, and it still picks up. So, to your point, it doesn't, as much as you want it to solve something, it doesn't necessarily solve it.
No, and it's like, why should I, why should I change my name? I've had it way longer. And even my mom was like, at some point, she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know, I'm like, Mom, how is a woman in the 70s going to know that, in this day and age that this is going to be an issue? You have no idea.
I love your mom. Oh, that's awesome.
No, it's like you picked an awesome name for me, and the fact that this happened is not on you. It's
Yeah.
not on you. But for a while, it before I found this group and heard these people speaking out, it felt very lonely because I'm like, surely there's other Alexas out there that feel this way. There's no way that the other Alexas don't feel the same as I do. And then I found out not only that, but then I started just really feeling for these little girls. I mean, for these kids, for the little Alexas, the ones that, you know, aren't adults and can't hear the jokes and be like, whatever. Like, just, that's the part that was really hard too. It's like, for me, if somebody says it, and it's what's funny is a lot of my friends know that if somebody random like comes up and says something, they're like, "Oh no, don't go there with her, don't get her started," because they don't want to hear it. I'm like, I'll just go off. One time a guy came in the office and he was there to fix the printer or something. I don't even know how it came up, but I was like, little girls are getting bullied. Like, I just went off on him, and I'm sure he was just like, oh gosh, I'm just here to fix the printer. I was like, well, he's getting educated today.
I
Like,
know, but
it's not funny. It
right.
isn't.
It isn't. And you're passionate about it. And that's why, like you said, you're educating people. So, what do people say to you? Like, what kind of comments do they make?
Well, like just recently, I was at a family reunion, and a relative of mine came up and was like, "Oh, and it's Alexa, the know-it-all." And I thought, I'm not a know-it-all. And he was referring to the device that you ask everything to, and he just starts laughing. And because it was a family thing, I just ignored it. But I just wanted to be like, seriously,
Yeah.
no. So, and it's just like little things like even them mentioning it, like, oh, like the device. It's like, well, I've been around a lot longer than that device has. So, no,
And it's
it's just the annoyance of it. And I think it was more the dread of it going into work that it was going to be a thing. It didn't end up being as much as a thing as I thought, I think, because of the way. Actually, I really don't know why. Maybe it's the group I'm around, thank
Because
goodness.
you've told
So a
people
lot of,
too. Right.
yeah, and it's older people and maybe people that don't care as much. It's mostly strangers, like meeting new people, I'd say. And someone said to me, "Well, you just don't like it because it's your name." And I'm thinking, "Well, isn't that enough?" You know. And I'm even to the point where I've posted things on my social media, mostly posts I get, from the group. Because, like I said, for a while, I thought I was the only one. And if I happen to see another Alexa out, like someone who had their name on, like I saw an Alexa and Ulta, a younger one, probably like an 18-year-old, and I'm just like, I asked her about it. I'm like, isn't it awful? And she's like, oh yeah, I hate it. So it's like now I'm thinking back, she probably didn't want to talk about it either, but it was like, I'm an Alexa, you're an Alexa, like just trying to like get some feedback from somebody else, like getting some support. And that's why I'm so appreciative of a group where people are standing up and saying, no, it isn't okay.
Right, because it's not necessarily, I mean, like you said, you get those comments and you can brush off a joke or two. And most people will say it didn't bother them at first, because it is like a joke or two and most people can take it. But then when it starts to be so repetitive and so constant in your life where you don't necessarily have a safe zone from it, to the point where someone like you wants to, potentially change their name in the workplace because of the comfort level and that, anxiousness, like, that's not okay. It's not okay at all. And I don't know. It's difficult to explain, I think, to most people. It's one of those conversations that you can't really have surface level. And we had a similar situation. We were in buying back to school supplies. This was probably a couple years ago. And I had my daughter, Alexa, and I called her in the store and she was going to pick out a binder. And there was another little girl who liked the same binder. You know how exciting that is, going back to school, getting their binders when they're in elementary school. And I said Alexa, and the girl and her grandmother that was with her, they both turned and they were like, and I got nervous because I thought they were going to say something about the device. And the grandmother came right up to me, complete stranger, and was like, I'm so happy. Her name is Alexa too, and she's having a horrible time. And she just started going down this path. And, she said, we've told her, just, if someone says, Alexa, what's the weather? Be like, I don't know, or it's 87 degrees or whatever it is. But I think, like you said, you run into someone else and have never, I mean, yeah, there are definitely people that it doesn't bother, of course, but that's the sort of confirmation, or I guess like it makes you feel and realize that there's thousands of people going through this that are feeling this way. And so hopefully we get that message out. But
So
I'm glad you kept it. I'm glad you went back.
yeah,
It was a
I
beautiful
think
name.
it's I think it's more of the anxiety of what people are going to say. Like I would never in the past, be in a restaurant where they're like, okay, what name is it under? It's just be like, it's under Alexa. Um, I would have never thought twice about saying it. And now I'm like, oh gosh, it's like that. That's the problem with it. It's like, you don't know. And most of the time, I don't have a lot of people that will say anything, but it's just the fear that someone will, and like, I'll have to deal with it. And I don't want to.
Who wants to get made fun of? Who wants to get bullied? And it's not something you're saying to people to like poke and get a response. And you're just simply giving your name.
Right, exactly. So it's just like the anxiety of doing it. And then I read something on the page one day, and it just really rang true to me. But it was someone had said, Alexa means defender of mankind, which is a really cool, or defender of man, or however you've seen it, which is a really cool thing, because it comes from Alexander and everything. But it's like we have to defend our name, and we do. I mean, that's just what we have to do.
I love that.
For me, it was easy because I'm an adult to just say, I'm taking it back. I know it's not as easy for little kids, and I totally get that. But for me, I was like, you know what? No, you're not taking it from me. It's mine. Um, and if someone says something to me, they very well might regret it because they're going to get an earful. Um, most likely. But also, I had a friend that had the device. I'm like, I feel like I tell most of my friends, like, I can be the only Alexa that comes over here. Like, I don't want any part of her being in this. I don't want her here. So I said, and if she is here, you need to change the name on that thing, because I can't be at someone's house and then have them saying, Alexa, play whatever. And so a friend had gotten one, and that's why I feel like they don't get it. I don't think that people are trying to be hurtful in any way, especially not these people in particular. But she's like, I'm sorry, my husband brought it in here, or this and that. And I said, well, you can change the wake word. But a lot of people don't even know you can change it.
Mhm.
That's what's crazy. I said, you can change it. And she said, okay, well, I'll have him change it on the app or whatever. And then I had heard from a friend, actually, it was my daughter, who forced her boyfriend to change. She's like, you absolutely cannot call your device Alexa. You have to change it. So she said, all you have to do is tell it to change its name. You don't have to go on an app or anything. So I went over there, and she's juggling 3 kids. She didn't have time to change it, probably. But I just went up to it and said, your new wake word is Echo. And I changed it. I changed it for her. And I was like, oh, by the way, it's changed. And she was fine with it. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, great, thank you.
That's the thing, because the technology works just fine without that wake word. That particular, which I call it a wake name, but it works absolutely fine. You can use all the benefits without that wake word.
Yeah, so I changed it for her. And, and then I thought, well, if they're not going to change it and it starts acting up, I'll just start making random comments about things I want to order. Say what? Say, Alexa would rather have 100 fidget spinners. I don't know. I just maybe I'll just start messing with it if you refuse to change it. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do that to a friend, but yeah, that's kind of like where I'm at. I said, if you want to have the thing, I said, and sometimes I'm like, well, she's spying on you. Anyway, I'm like, she spies on people. If you want to have it, that's your choice. But if I'm coming over here, I don't want. I need to be the only Alexa in this room.
Yeah,
I'm not
unless it's another human being.
Yes, unless it's a human.
And then that's a totally normal situation.
Yeah, no. I mean, unless it's a human Alexa. And my husband totally supports me, but I'm on an exercise group, and I had my name as something else, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put Alexa human as my name on the thing. And someone already had it, which is great. I don't know who, but somebody on there has that name. So now I'm human Alexa, with numbers behind it. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe someone sees that and thinks, oh, there's human. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it takes. I do have a friend. I was going to say, I do have a friend that contacted me that said, I feel like I empathize with you because she's named Karen. And that's a whole thing. And I thought, yeah, I guess that is kind of similar, but I personally, because of the issues with Alexa, I don't use the word Karen like that, and I don't let my kids do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not right. It's not right for Alexa. It's not right for Karen.
Right. Oh, I feel the same way. Yeah, I don't do that either. I mean, I get that it's a joke. I completely get everything, and even the Alexa jokes as well. But yeah, I just, especially experiencing this, there's no way I could do that to somebody now. I just think it speaks volumes. You speak for thousands of people who are doing this. It's the fact that you feel like you have to not use your own name at a restaurant, at work, in an exercise group, because of that fear and anxiety. I mean, this is what people need to understand, that it's so ubiquitous and it's so everywhere. It's branded everywhere in our lives, to the point where you feel like you can't introduce yourself. I mean, it's a big statement from this group, but I think that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So I don't know. Anything else? Anything else that you want people to know, or you want Amazon to know, or anything else?
I just think they need to think of it as what if it was their name? I mean, they just need to put themselves into it. They think it's not a big deal because it doesn't affect them. That's why. You can easily brush off something that's not your name, but you have to put your own name into it. And I feel like at this point, um, Amazon in particular should have the technology to let people name their own device. If they want to have one of those things, they should be able to name it whatever they want. And, I just think that's the ultimate solution. I mean, the technology, I'm sure, is there. Um, I don't know why they would pick somebody's name. I think that was a really stupid thing to do. At the same time, I mean, you're right. There's people named Echo as well. There's people named Siri.
Right. Google so far has done it right in my book. I just feel like pick something that isn't a human name. There's a million words you could make up. I mean, just make it up.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So tons of letters in the alphabet.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many combinations you can make. It's not going to be somebody's name.
Right.
It's not going to be a woman's name. It's not going to be a little girl's name. Like, it's not going to be somebody's name that either they were just given a few years ago or that they were given a long, long time ago.
Well, what's interesting? Oh, sorry.
I would say it's just frustrating and sad, actually, too.
It is. It's really sad. It's strange to me because from what I've read about the naming process, the Amazon Lab 126 who came up with the name, and anyone at Amazon who was trying to come up with a name, I guess, didn't want it to be something common because they didn't want it to interrupt. So they other conversations, whatever. So they didn't want it to be just computer and have the default be computer, from what I've read, because people would be saying the word computer all the time. So it's really interesting to me that it was that well thought out from a word perspective or an inanimate object that you're concerned about, but they didn't kind of go forward and think about what the human impact would be. So, you know what? Like I always say, I don't fault them. I truly, truly, genuinely do not fault anyone. I don't think there was malintent. I don't think that anyone intended on this brand even becoming so large. But now that it's here, I don't know. We need to fix this. So.
I agree. It's like you feel a little hopeless as one person trying to figure out, okay, how do you fix this? What do you do? But I think that's why this, being in a group and that kind of thing is important. Because if not, you're just one little Alexa and like what can you do? Instead of group banding together to say, this is not okay. And like I said, I'm not going to, for me personally, and I support what anybody else does, but for me, I'm not giving it up. I don't, at this point, I'm like, I tried it and it just wasn't me. At this point, it's like, it's my name. I'm just going to have to deal with it. And if I get comments, then that's a moment to educate, I guess. Or I just try to ignore it. But like I said, I know that's not as easy for kids either. And really, we shouldn't have to do that. We shouldn't have to. But it's like you're weighing your options. What am I going to do? Am I going to change it? Am I going to change my name? No. I'd rather be out there saying, no, this is my name, and at least attempt to take it back. And not own any of that stuff.
And you know what I love too, listening to you, is that you told me you have daughters. You're such a good role model right now. I love that you're speaking up about this because being a mom or a parent it's so important to show kids even more than tell kids. So I love that you're doing this, having 2 daughters yourself. So I give you a lot of credit for that.
Well, I give you a lot of credit for standing up there for your daughter. That's what mamas do. It's like you want to make the world better for your kids, and you see an injustice and you're like, I said, it's one thing for me to fight as an Alexa, but it's like, it's those mamas you don't want to mess with. You don't want to, well, it's one thing to mess with the bear, but you don't want to mess with that mama bear.
I know. Well, here's the thing. I definitely felt that way, like, especially in the beginning. Now it's much more about like the whole big picture and so many other kids. I worry much more. I shouldn't even say this about my own daughter. I worry more about the teenagers and preteens than I even do about mine because she's, relatively okay. She has her moments. We have days that are really bad, really tough, and we have days that are okay. And she's built skills. But uh, I just, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to address it, whether you want to or not. And I can just equate it to speaking with other parents, and they'll tell me like, oh, my kid didn't get into this college, and they're devastated, and the kid is upset, that whether it's a boy or a girl, they're upset, and rightfully so, and the mom is like in tears because they're not getting into a college, or the the kid is making fun of them on a bus and they're in tears because this is going on for like 3 weeks. Or I have, other people have said, oh, this kid's getting made fun of for this reason or that reason, whatever it is. So what I would love people to understand is it's that feeling of a parent where you feel helpless, you want to build your child's confidence, and then picture it going on for like 3 years of this constant, I don't know, I don't even know what to call it, strange situation. So that's why I said, okay, I'll put myself out there, even though it wasn't necessarily what I intended to do. But I'm so grateful for you being on and for everybody in this group. It's become so large and everyone's so passionate about it. And I love this. This is such a great group of people. This is awesome.
Yes, definitely. I'm thankful for the group too. When I see things, I saw that someone had posted a t-shirt. I'm like, I need that t-shirt. I need something that's like, what's the weather? It's like, check it yourself. Like, leave us out of it. We're human. Like, that's conversation starter at least. So good for her.
Yeah.
Swear it proudly. Take it back.
Exactly.
That's kind of like where I'm at. I mean, still, yes, let's try to get rid of it. But I mean, at my point, I'm like, I'm going to take it back.
Love it. Thank you so much, Alexa. Really, thank you.
Sure, no problem. I appreciate what you're doing.